Pain is a teacher unlike any other. It doesn't ask for permission, and it doesn't wait for the right time. It arrives unannounced, uninvited, and often when you least expect it. But here's the thing: when it comes, it carries lessons that no other experience can. We often try to avoid it, run from it, or numb it, but pain has a way of catching up to you, forcing you to confront it head on. It's in that confrontation that the real education begins. Adversity, when it shows up, isn't there to destroy you, but to shape you in ways comfort never could. When everything in your life is smooth, when there are no storms, you don't really learn about yourself. You don't test your limits. You stay in the safe zone. And while that might feel good for a while, it doesn't foster growth. It's easy to be strong when nothing is challenging you. But what happens when adversity hits? When the ground beneath your feet starts to shake and you're faced with situations you never imagined? That's when pain steps in as the harsh but effective teacher. It strips away all pretenses, all the masks you wear, and forces you to face your raw, unfiltered self. Adversity has a way of pushing you beyond your comfort zone, beyond what you thought you were capable of. It tests your patience, your strength, your resilience. Pain digs deep, exposing your fears, insecurities, and vulnerabilities. And it's uncomfortable, sometimes unbearable. But that discomfort is exactly where the growth happens. Without adversity, you'd never know the depths of your own courage. You'd never understand just how much you can endure, how far you can push yourself. It's in the struggle that your true self is revealed. Pain doesn't just teach you about your own limits, it also teaches you about life itself. It forces you to slow down, to reflect on the choices you've made, and to question the path you're on. In moments of pain, you begin to see things more clearly. You realize what truly matters and what doesn't. The superficial things, the distractions, the noise fall away, and you're left with the core of what's important. Pain forces clarity upon you. When everything hurts, you start to prioritize what's worth your time and energy, and what you need to let go of. Adversity also teaches empathy in a way that nothing else can. When you've been through pain, when you felt broken, you begin to understand the struggles of others on a deeper level. You no longer look at someone else's hardship with judgment or indifference. Instead, you recognize their pain because you've been there yourself. Adversity breeds connection, and it's through pain that we find common ground with others. The person who has never faced hardship may never fully grasp the depth of human emotion, but those who have been through the fire come out with a greater capacity for understanding and compassion. Pain teaches resilience. Every time you fall, every time you get knocked down, you learn how to stand back up. And it's not always pretty. Sometimes you'll get up slowly with shaky legs, and other times you'll rise with a newfound determination. But the point is, you rise. Adversity builds that muscle resilience by giving you no other option. Each setback, each heartbreak teaches you how to keep going, even when you feel like you have nothing left to give. It's a lesson in perseverance, in not giving up on yourself when the world seems like it's closing in. Pain exposes your weaknesses, but it also reveals your strengths. It shows you the areas where you need to grow, where you've been holding yourself back. But it also shines a light on the parts of you that are unbreakable, the parts that will carry you through any storm. Adversity has a way of peeling back the layers, getting to the core of who you are. It doesn't allow you to hide behind excuses or self-deception. You're forced to confront the real you, the one who's still standing, even after everything has tried to tear you down. There's also a transformative power in pain. It's a paradox. But sometimes the very thing that breaks you is the thing that ends up remaking you. Adversity shatters the old, comfortable version of you, forcing you to rebuild yourself stronger, wiser, and more aware. The cracks in your armor allow new light to come in, new possibilities to emerge. You start to see that pain, while excruciating, can be a catalyst for transformation. It takes what you thought you knew about life and turns it upside down, giving you the opportunity to reinvent yourself in ways you never thought possible. Adversity teaches patience. When things aren't going your way, when everything feels like it's falling apart, you can't rush the process. Pain doesn't work on your timetable. It takes its time, and you have to learn to sit with it, to endure it. In that waiting, in that discomfort, you begin to understand that not everything can be fixed immediately. Some things take time to heal, some wounds take longer than others. But in that space of waiting, you also learn the art of patience with yourself, with others, and with life itself. Pain teaches humility. It reminds you that you're not invincible, that you don't have control over everything. It strips away the illusion of perfection, showing you that it's okay to be vulnerable, to not have all the answers. Adversity brings you face to face with your own humanity. And while that can be humbling, it's also liberating. You start to see that it's okay to stumble, to fall short, because everyone does. Pain makes you realize that you don't have to carry the weight of perfection on your shoulders. You're allowed to be human. Adversity forces you to build new skills, new ways of coping. When the old ways don't work anymore, when what you used to rely on fails you, you're forced to adapt. Pain pushes you to find new solutions, to become resourceful, and to tap into strengths you didn't know you had. It teaches you to think differently, to approach challenges from a new perspective. That adaptability, that willingness to learn and grow becomes one of your greatest assets. Finally, pain teaches you gratitude. It's only after you've been through the storm that you can fully appreciate the calm. It's only after you've experienced loss that you understand the value of what remains. Pain has a way of making you appreciate the small things, the moments of peace and joy that you might have overlooked before. Adversity, in all its difficulty, brings a profound sense of appreciation for the things that truly matter. You said. Their actions reflect them, not you. Expend it and don't add any ending sentence and make it lengthy of 12 paragraph. ChatGPT said. ChatGPT. When people hurt you intentionally or not, it's easy to internalize that pain and make it about yourself. You start to question your own worth, wondering if you did something to deserve it. But the truth is, their actions reflect more about who they are than anything about you. The way someone treats others, especially in moments of conflict or struggle, is a direct reflection of their own internal state. It speaks to their character, their experiences, and their unresolved issues. Their behavior is a mirror of their own struggles, insecurities, and fears, not a judgment of your value or what you deserve. People often project their own pain onto others. When someone is hurting inside, they may lash out, manipulate, or take advantage because they don't know how to deal with their own emotional turmoil. In many cases, the harm they cause isn't even fully about you. It's about them trying to escape their own suffering. When people are lost, confused, or broken, they can spread that brokenness to others around them. This doesn't make their actions right, but it helps to understand that their cruelty, indifference, or selfishness stems from their own inner battles. Think about it. When someone is at peace with themselves, they rarely feel the need to cause harm or diminish others. A person who is secure in who they are will build you up, not tear you down. But when someone is battling their own demons, they can become consumed by their own issues, unable to see how their actions affect those around them. Their behavior is a reflection of their own internal chaos. So when they hurt you, it's not because you're unworthy or lacking. It's because they don't know how to cope with their own pain in a healthy way. This becomes clearer when you realize that we all have our own lenses through which we view the world. These lenses are shaped by our past, our traumas, our experiences. Someone who has been betrayed may have a difficult time trusting others, and as a result, may betray those closest to them before they feel betrayed themselves. It's a defense mechanism, a way to protect themselves from pain, even if it means causing pain to others. Their actions in this case reflect the lens through which they see relationships, a lens that may be cracked or distorted by past wounds. It's important to remember that you are not responsible for fixing or healing someone else's pain, especially when they choose to project it onto you. Their actions are their own, and so are the consequences that come with them. Sometimes people will hurt you because they don't have the tools to manage their own hurt. But that's a reflection of their limitations, not yours. You are not the cause of their pain, even if they try to make you feel that way. You are simply on the receiving end of their inability to cope with their own emotions. This is why boundaries are so important. When you understand that someone's hurtful actions are a reflection of them, not you, it becomes easier to separate yourself from their behavior. You begin to see that their need to control, manipulate, or cause harm isn't about something you did. It's about their own need to feel powerful or in control when they feel powerless inside. Boundaries help you protect yourself from their unresolved issues while still recognizing that their actions don't define who you are. Often people who hurt others are acting out of their own unmet needs. They might feel unworthy, unloved, or insecure, and so they project those feelings onto others by belittling or undermining them. In their minds, bringing someone else down temporarily lifts them up, even though it never really solves the root of their insecurity. This is why their actions say so much about them. They are revealing their deepest fears and inadequacies, even when they try to hide them behind anger, control, or indifference. When you encounter this kind of behavior, it's easy to take it personally, to feel as though their actions are a direct reflection of your worth. But that's a misunderstanding of how people operate. Their cruelty or neglect isn't about your value, it's about their inability to process their own emotions in a healthy, constructive way. They may not have the emotional intelligence or maturity to deal with their own pain, so they spread it to others. This is their choice, their flaw, not yours. It's also important to recognize that people are often acting from a place of fear. Fear of being vulnerable, fear of being hurt, fear of not being enough. These fears manifest in harmful ways through manipulation, control, or even abandonment. When someone acts out of fear, they are trying to protect themselves, but in the process, they may cause damage to those around them. This isn't a reflection of the person they hurt, it's a reflection of how terrified they are of facing their own vulnerability. Understanding this can be liberating. It frees you from the burden of trying to figure out what you did wrong or how you could have changed the outcome. You start to see that their hurtful behavior wasn't about you at all, it was about their own struggles, their inability to manage their emotions or their fears. You stop carrying the weight of their actions on your shoulders and start recognizing that you were simply caught in the crossfire of their internal battles. When people mistreat you, it often feels personal, but in reality, it rarely is. Their actions are shaped by who they are, not by who you are. They are acting from their own story, their own experiences, and their own wounds. You are not responsible for those wounds, nor are you responsible for healing them. Their behavior is a reflection of their emotional state, their level of maturity, and their understanding of relationships. Strength is often something we don't see in ourselves until we're forced to confront it. You're stronger than you realize, but the world has a way of making you forget that. Society, circumstances, even the people closest to you might make you doubt your own power, but that strength is always there, waiting to be discovered. It often lies dormant, hiding beneath the surface until life challenges you in ways you never expected. It's in those moments when you feel like you can't possibly go on, that your strength reveals itself, surprising you with its depth and resilience. Most people go through life not fully understanding just how capable they are. They underestimate their ability to endure, to overcome, to adapt. Strength isn't just about physical toughness or the ability to withstand hardship on the outside. It's about the quiet, unshakable resolve that lies within you. It's the inner force that keeps you going when the world feels like it's falling apart. You've survived things that would have broken someone else, and you didn't even realize the magnitude of your own endurance because, to you, it felt like the only option. But in every step forward, in every challenge faced, you've shown a strength that far exceeds what you give yourself credit for. There's a misconception that strength means never feeling pain, never being vulnerable, never struggling. But true strength lies in feeling all of those things: pain, doubt, fear, and continuing on anyway. It's about acknowledging the difficulty of the situation, admitting that it hurts, that it's overwhelming, but still finding the will to keep moving forward. You might not see it as strength because it doesn't always feel heroic. Sometimes it feels like barely surviving, like just getting through the day. But make no mistake, the simple act of not giving up, of pushing through when everything in you wants to stop, is the very definition of strength. The truth is, you've been proving your strength all along. Think back to the moments when you thought you couldn't possibly handle any more. The days when the weight of the world seemed too heavy to bear, and yet you're still here. You've dealt with heartache, with loss, with disappointment, and somehow, despite it all, you've managed to keep going. That's not luck, that's strength. You've adapted to situations you never thought you'd face, and even though it may not have felt like it at the time, each of those moments made you stronger. Strength doesn't always come in loud, obvious ways. Sometimes it's quiet, subtle, and almost imperceptible. It's the decision to get out of bed when your heart is heavy, to keep showing up even when it feels like the world is against you. It's the ability to smile in the face of adversity, not because everything is okay, but because you refuse to let it break you. Strength is in the small moments, the everyday victories that often go unnoticed. It's in the resilience you show in the face of uncertainty, in the courage to keep going when there are no guarantees. You're stronger than you realize because strength often comes disguised as survival. When you're in the middle of the storm, when you're just trying to make it through, you don't always have the luxury of reflecting on how strong you are. You're focused on survival, on getting through the next minute, the next hour, the next day. But when you look back, when you take a moment to see all that you've endured, all the battles you fought, you'll begin to see the pattern. Every time you faced something that felt insurmountable, you found a way to overcome it. That's strength. You've been stronger than you realized all along. There's also a unique kind of strength in vulnerability. The willingness to acknowledge when you're not okay, to admit when you need help, is a strength that often goes unrecognized. It takes courage to be vulnerable, to let others see you in moments of weakness. But that's where true strength lies, in the ability to be open, to allow yourself to feel deeply, and still push forward. Too often, we equate strength with invincibility, but the strongest people are the ones who know when to lean on others, when to take a step back, and when to let themselves heal. Strength doesn't mean you have to do everything alone. In fact, some of the strongest people are those who understand the value of community, of support, of connection. There's strength in asking for help, in admitting that you can't do it all on your own. The idea that you have to be strong by carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders is a myth. Real strength is knowing when to share that burden, when to reach out, and when to let others walk alongside you in your struggles. It's about understanding that strength comes in many forms, and sometimes the strongest thing you can do is allow yourself to lean on others. You're stronger than you realize because strength often manifests in ways we don't expect. It's not always about overcoming the big dramatic moments. Sometimes it's about the quiet perseverance in the face of everyday struggles. It's about finding the courage to start over when everything falls apart, to rebuild when you thought you'd lost everything. Strength is about resilience, about how many times you get back up, no matter how many times life knocks you down. And each time you rise, even if it's slow, even if it's painful, you're proving just how strong you are. There's also a mental and emotional strength that we often overlook. The ability to change your perspective, to grow through pain, to learn from your experiences. This is a form of strength that is just as powerful as any physical endurance. Emotional strength is about navigating the complexities of life, about managing your emotions and finding balance in a world that often feels chaotic. You've faced inner battles that no one else can see, and you've won those battles in ways that may not be obvious to others, but they've shaped you into who you are today. You're stronger than you realize because life doesn't give you a choice sometimes. It pushes you to the edge, it tests you, and forces you to find reserves of strength you didn't know you had. But here's the thing, you always find a way. No matter how tough it gets, no matter how impossible it feels, you've proven time and time again that you have the ability to endure, to adapt, and to overcome. You may not see it in the moment, but looking back, it's clear that every challenge you faced has only made you stronger. You're stronger than you realize because strength is often built in the hardest moments. It's when you're forced to dig deep, when you're pushed beyond your limits, that you discover just how much you're capable of. When someone mistreats you, disrespects you, or tries to tear you down, it's easy to internalize their actions and let them define who you are. But their behavior isn't a reflection of your worth, it's a reflection of their issues, their insecurities, and their own brokenness. Yet far too often we allow the actions of others to shape how we see ourselves. We take their words and actions as truth, absorbing their negativity and letting it distort our self-perception. But their actions are not your identity. You are more than the way others choose to treat you, and you cannot let their actions define your sense of self. People's actions toward you are often driven by their own pain, their own insecurities, and their own fears. Someone might belittle you because they feel small inside. They might try to control you because they feel powerless in their own life. But that's about them, not you. Their cruelty, manipulation, or indifference comes from a place of weakness within themselves. When you let their actions define you, you're giving them power over your life, your identity, and your happiness. And no one deserves that kind of control over you. You must decide that you're not going to let their brokenness become a mirror for your value. It's important to remember that no one knows your full story but you. No one sees the whole picture of your life, your experiences, your struggles, or your victories. When someone acts toward you in a way that is hurtful or demeaning, they are reacting from their limited perspective. They don't see everything that makes you who you are. They don't know your heart, your strength, your resilience. And yet we sometimes take their actions as if they define us, as if they somehow have the authority to tell us who we are. But they don't. They can't. Only you get to decide that. You are not the mistakes that others make in their treatment of you. When someone fails to appreciate your worth, it's easy to start questioning whether you're really deserving of love, respect, or kindness. But just because someone else can't see your value doesn't mean it isn't there. Their failure to treat you with the respect you deserve is a reflection of their limitations, not a commentary on your worth. When you let their actions define you, you're allowing their narrow view of the world to dictate how you see yourself. But you have to break free from that. Their limited perspective should never limit your self-worth. People will often act out of their own unresolved pain, lashing out or withdrawing because they haven't dealt with their own wounds. You might find yourself on the receiving end of someone's anger, indifference, or cruelty simply because they haven't learned how to manage their emotions or heal from their past. Their actions can feel personal, but more often than not, they have little to do with you and everything to do with what's going on inside them. It's crucial to separate their behavior from your identity. You are not responsible for their actions, and you certainly shouldn't allow those actions to define who you are. It's easy to feel powerless when someone mistreats you, especially if it's someone you care about or someone who holds a position of authority in your life. But even in those moments, you have power. You have the power to decide how much weight their actions carry in your life. You have the power to decide whether their behavior will shape your future or whether you'll rise above it. You are not obligated to carry the burden of their actions with you. You don't have to let their cruelty, neglect, or indifference become the lens through which you view yourself. You can choose to define yourself on your own terms. Their actions might sting, they might hurt deeply, and they might leave scars. But those scars are not the sum total of who you are. You are more than the pain you've experienced. You are more than the disappointments and the betrayals. When you let someone's actions define you, you're allowing your identity to be shaped by your wounds rather than your healing. But you are not your wounds. You are the strength that comes from rising above them. You are the resilience that comes from continuing on in the face of adversity. You are the courage it takes to keep going when others have tried to break you. The way someone treats you says more about them than it ever will about you. If they lie to you, cheat on you, or disrespect you, those actions reveal their character, not yours. Yet, it's common to feel like their betrayal somehow diminishes your worth, like their rejection or mistreatment is a reflection of something lacking in you. But that's not true. Their actions are a reflection of their own values or lack thereof. Don't let their actions seep into your sense of self. Don't give them the power to make you question your worth or your integrity because of their failings. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that we can somehow control or influence how others treat us. We think if only we were different, smarter, more successful, more attractive, then maybe they would treat us better. But that's a dangerous trap. No matter how much you change or how hard you try, you can't control the actions of others. You can't make someone be kind, honest, or respectful if they don't want to be. Their actions are their own, and they choose how they treat the people in their lives. Your worth isn't up for debate based on how others choose to behave. The power of choice is one of the greatest forces we possess as human beings. Every day, in both small and large ways, we exercise this power, often without even realizing the significance of it. We have the ability to choose how we respond to the world around us, how we approach challenges, and how we navigate our relationships. This power may seem subtle at times, but it shapes the course of our lives in profound ways. Our choices determine the direction we take, the experiences we have, and ultimately the person we become. No matter the circumstances we find ourselves in, we always have the power to choose, and that is a gift we should never take for granted. Many people believe that they are at the mercy of their circumstances, that life happens to them, rather than realizing they have control over how they respond. While we can't control everything that happens in our lives, unexpected events, other people's actions, or even certain hardships, we can always choose how we react. It is within that response where our true power lies. We can choose to remain hopeful in the face of adversity, to learn from our mistakes, or to rise above the negativity around us. The power of choice allows us to take control of our destiny, even when life feels out of control. At every moment, we are presented with a multitude of choices. Some may seem insignificant, like what to eat for breakfast or whether to take a different route to work. Others, however, carry the weight of shaping the course of our lives, such as deciding to forgive someone who has wronged us, or choosing to pursue a new career path. The beauty of choice is that, over time, even the smallest decisions accumulate, shaping who we are and the path we're on. Every choice builds on the last, creating a ripple effect that influences not only our future but the lives of those around us as well. One of the most powerful aspects of choice is that it gives us ownership of our lives. When we recognize that we are responsible for our decisions, we stop blaming external factors for our situation and start taking charge of our future. This can be a daunting realization because it means we must hold ourselves accountable, but it's also incredibly liberating. When you fully understand the power of choice, you realize that you are not a victim of circumstance. You are the architect of your life, and every decision you make is a building block in the foundation of your future. With the power of choice comes the responsibility to be mindful of our decisions. It's easy to make choices out of habit or impulse without truly considering the long-term consequences. But when we stop to reflect on the decisions we face, we gain clarity and insight into the direction we're heading. Being intentional about our choices, whether it's in relationships, career, or personal development, allows us to align our actions with our values and our goals. Every choice is an opportunity to move closer to the life we want to live, or further away from it. Of course, with this power comes the reality that not all choices are easy. Sometimes the choices we face are difficult, painful, or even heart-wrenching. We may have to choose between two equally challenging paths, or make decisions that require sacrifice. But even in those moments, the power of choice remains a gift. It allows us to be active participants in our own lives, rather than passive observers. We may not always like the choices available to us, but having the ability to choose is what makes us human. It is what gives us agency in our own story. Even when faced with adversity, we have the power to choose our mindset. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychologist, famously said, "Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." This insight reveals a fundamental truth about the human spirit, that no matter what happens to us, we still have the freedom to choose our outlook. We can choose hope over despair, resilience over defeat, and love over bitterness. This power to choose how we see the world is perhaps the most profound choice of all. Our choices also reflect our priorities and values. The way we spend our time, the people we surround ourselves with, the actions we take, all of these choices speak to what we value most in life. Are we choosing things that bring us closer to our goals, that align with our core beliefs? Or are we making choices out of fear, convenience, or the expectations of others? The power of choice invites us to constantly reevaluate what matters most to us, and whether our decisions are in harmony with those values. It challenges us to live with integrity, to make choices that reflect who we truly are. Choice also gives us the opportunity to grow. Every decision we make, whether it leads to success or failure, is a chance to learn more about ourselves and the world around us. When we make mistakes, we have the power to choose how we respond, whether to dwell on our failures or to use them as stepping stones toward growth. In this way, choice is not just about control, but about transformation. It is through our choices that we evolve, that we become wiser, stronger, and more attuned to what truly matters in life. The power of choice also brings with it the understanding that we cannot choose for others. We can influence, guide, and advise, but ultimately, every individual has the freedom to make their own decisions. This can be both a source of frustration and relief. It can be hard to watch someone we care about make choices we disagree with or know will lead to pain. But it is a reminder that just as we have the power to choose for ourselves, others have the same right. Respecting the choices of others, even when we don't agree with them, is a key part of honoring the power of choice. It's also important to acknowledge that sometimes the fear of making the wrong choice can be paralyzing. We hesitate, we overthink, we doubt ourselves. But what we often forget is that not choosing is, in itself, a choice. By not making a decision, we allow life to happen to us rather than taking control of our own path. The power of choice doesn't require perfection. It simply requires courage, the courage to act, to make a decision, and to trust that, no matter the outcome, we have the ability to make new choices as we go. Every choice moves us forward, even if the path isn't always clear. The power of choice is about freedom. The freedom to create the life we want, the freedom to define ourselves, and the freedom to change direction when necessary. We are not bound by the choices of our past. We have the ability to make new decisions every day. This power is constant, and as long as we are alive, we have the opportunity to choose again, to try again, and to build the life we desire. The power of choice is our greatest tool for self-determination and growth, and it is a gift that, when used wisely, can lead us to a life of purpose and fulfillment. Pain reveals character in ways that comfort and ease never can. When everything is going well, it's easy to put on a facade to mask who we really are. But pain strips us of all pretense. It forces us to confront our deepest fears, our vulnerabilities, and our true selves. Pain brings to the surface qualities we may not even know we possess: strength, resilience, endurance. In the midst of suffering, we learn what we are truly made of. It's in those difficult moments that our character is forged, not in the good times. Pain tests us, and in doing so, it reveals who we are beneath the surface. When life is comfortable, we tend to settle into a routine, living in a bubble where our weaknesses remain hidden. But when pain enters the picture, whether through loss, failure, or disappointment, our defenses are shattered, and what remains is the essence of our character. How we respond to pain says everything about us. Do we crumble under the pressure, or do we rise and face it with courage? Do we allow bitterness to take root, or do we choose to grow through the experience? Pain strips away all the superficial layers and exposes the core of who we are. It reveals the depth of our character, for better or for worse. There's a certain clarity that comes with pain. When we're hurting, we see the world and ourselves with sharper focus. The things that once seemed so important, status, material success, superficial relationships, fall away, leaving only what truly matters. In these moments, we come face to face with our values, our beliefs, and our priorities. Pain forces us to evaluate what's really important and to let go of the things that no longer serve us. It brings out our most authentic self, often surprising us with just how much strength we have hidden within. Pain also reveals our capacity for empathy. When we've experienced deep suffering, we become more attuned to the struggles of others. It's hard to truly understand another person's pain until you've been through your own. In the midst of our suffering, we develop a sensitivity to the pain of others that we might not have had before. We become more compassionate, more patient, and more understanding. Pain can break us down, but it can also build us up, making us kinder and more empathetic individuals who are better equipped to offer support to others in their time of need. In the face of pain, we also discover our capacity for resilience. When everything falls apart, we're forced to either give up or push forward. It's in these moments of decision that our true strength is revealed. Resilience isn't about avoiding pain, it's about facing it head on and continuing to move forward despite it. Every time we rise after being knocked down, we build resilience. And that resilience becomes a defining aspect of our character. We learn that pain is not something to fear, but something that, when endured, makes us stronger, more capable, and more prepared for future challenges. One of the most telling aspects of how pain reveals character is in how we treat others when we are hurting. Some people, when in pain, lash out, taking their suffering out on those around them. Others, however, choose to channel their pain into kindness, understanding that everyone is fighting a battle of their own. How we treat others in our darkest moments says a lot about the kind of person we are. Pain has the power to either harden us or soften us, and the way we choose to react defines our character. It's easy to be kind when life is going well, but real character is shown in how we act when we're struggling. Pain also reveals our level of patience and perseverance. In the midst of suffering, it's natural to want an immediate solution, a quick fix that will end the discomfort. But pain rarely works that way. It forces us to sit with it, to endure it, and to learn from it. This requires patience, the ability to endure without losing hope. It also requires perseverance, the determination to keep going even when the road ahead seems endless. Pain tests our resolve, showing us whether we have the endurance to keep moving forward despite the obstacles in our path. Pain reveals our relationship with hope. In times of great suffering, hope can feel distant, but it is in these moments that hope becomes most vital. How we hold on to hope or whether we let it slip away says a great deal about our character. Some people, when faced with pain, fall into despair, losing all sense of possibility. Others, however, cling to hope, believing that things can and will get better, even if they don't know how or when. The ability to maintain hope in the face of adversity is a hallmark of strong character, and it's a quality that is only truly revealed when tested by pain. Pain also shows us how much we are willing to grow. There's a saying that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. How we interpret and use our pain is a choice. Some people allow pain to paralyze them, trapping them in a cycle of suffering. Others, however, use pain as a catalyst for growth. They recognize that pain, while difficult, often comes with lessons that can lead to transformation. This willingness to grow through pain, to learn from it, and become better because of it is a reflection of a person's character. Growth is not always easy, but it is often necessary. And pain is one of life's greatest teachers. Transformation through pain is one of the most profound processes a person can undergo. Pain, whether physical, emotional, or psychological, forces us to confront the deepest parts of ourselves. In those moments of suffering, we are given a choice to allow the pain to defeat us or to use it as a catalyst for change. Pain strips away the illusions we build around ourselves, leaving us raw and exposed. But in that exposure, there is an opportunity for growth. Transformation through pain is not immediate, nor is it easy, but it is one of the most powerful ways in which we evolve as human beings. When we experience pain, it disrupts the flow of our lives. It shakes us out of our comfort zones and forces us to reevaluate everything we once took for granted. The routines, beliefs, and habits that we once relied on no longer seem sufficient in the face of deep suffering. This disruption, while painful, is the beginning of transformation. Pain forces us to question who we are, what we want, and what truly matters to us. It provides us with a clarity that is often absent in times of ease. Through this process of questioning, we begin to change whether we want to or not. At first, pain can feel overwhelming, suffocating even. It can consume our thoughts and emotions, leaving little room for anything else. In those moments, it's natural to resist, to fight against the pain with everything we have. But resistance often only prolongs the suffering. True transformation begins when we accept the pain, when we allow ourselves to feel it fully without trying to push it away. This acceptance doesn't mean that we enjoy the pain or that we stop wishing for relief, but it does mean that we stop running from it. Only when we stop resisting can the healing and transformation begin. Pain has a way of breaking us open, exposing the parts of ourselves that we often try to hide or ignore. In the midst of suffering, we are forced to confront our weaknesses, our fears, and our insecurities. This confrontation can be incredibly uncomfortable, but it is also where transformation takes root. By facing these hidden parts of ourselves, we begin to understand them. We start to see where our pain is coming from, and we gain insight into the deeper wounds that may have been festering beneath the surface for years. This self-awareness is the first step in healing and transforming our pain into something meaningful. As we move through pain, we often find that it changes our perspective on life. What once seemed important may suddenly feel trivial in the face of deep suffering. Pain has a way of narrowing our focus, stripping away the superficial concerns that often dominate our thoughts. In this narrowing, we gain a new appreciation for the things that truly matter: relationships, love, purpose, and inner peace. The transformation that comes from pain often includes a realignment of priorities. We become more attuned to what brings us true fulfillment and less concerned with the distractions of the world. Through pain, we also learn the importance of vulnerability. Suffering has a way of breaking down the walls we build around ourselves. It forces us to let go of the need to appear strong or in control at all times. In moments of deep pain, we often have no choice but to reach out to others for support, to admit that we are struggling. This vulnerability, while frightening, is also a crucial part of transformation. It allows us to connect with others on a deeper level and to experience the healing power of human connection. Through this process, we learn that vulnerability is not a weakness, but a strength. Pain teaches us resilience. In the face of suffering, we discover reserves of strength we never knew we had. Each time we rise after being knocked down, we become a little stronger, a little more capable of handling whatever life throws our way. This resilience is a key part of the transformation that comes from pain. It's not about becoming invulnerable to suffering, but about learning how to endure it and continue moving forward. Through pain, we learn that we are capable of surviving, even thriving, in the face of hardship. This newfound resilience becomes a core part of who we are. Transformation through pain is also about letting go. Pain often comes from holding on to something: a relationship, an expectation, a version of ourselves that is no longer serving us. In order to transform, we must be willing to release these attachments. This can be one of the most difficult aspects of the process, as it requires us to confront the fear of the unknown. But once we let go, we create space for something new to emerge. Transformation requires a shedding of the old so that the new can take its place. It's a process of release, of allowing ourselves to evolve beyond what we once were. Pain, while often isolating, can also connect us to a greater sense of humanity. When we go through deep suffering, we come to realize that pain is a universal experience. It is something that every person on this planet has in common. This realization can be humbling, but it is also profoundly transformative. It helps us to develop a greater sense of empathy and compassion for others. We begin to understand that we are not alone in our suffering, and this understanding can lead to a deeper connection with the people around us. Pain breaks down the barriers between us, allowing for a shared experience of healing and growth. One of the most powerful transformations that pain can bring is a renewed sense of purpose. When we endure hardship, it forces us to ask difficult questions about the meaning of our lives. What are we here for? What do we want to contribute to the world? Pain can clarify these questions in a way that nothing else can. It pushes us to find meaning in our suffering, to use it as fuel for something greater. Many people who have experienced deep pain go on to create profound change in their own lives and in the lives of others. Pain, when transformed, becomes a source of purpose and drive. As we move through pain and begin to transform, we also learn the importance of patience. Transformation is not something that happens overnight. It is a slow, often painful process that requires time, reflection, and growth. In a world that values quick fixes and instant gratification, the slow nature of transformation can be frustrating, but pain teaches us that true change takes time. It requires us to sit with our discomfort, to allow ourselves the space to heal and evolve. The patience we develop through this process is itself a transformation, teaching us to trust in the journey even when we cannot yet see the destination. Finally, transformation through pain brings with it a deep sense of self-awareness. As we endure and move beyond suffering, we come to know ourselves in ways that were previously impossible. Pain forces us to examine our deepest fears, our core beliefs, and our true desires. It strips away the external noise and allows us to hear the voice of our own inner truth. This self-awareness is the foundation of transformation. It gives us the clarity and insight we need to make meaningful changes in our lives. Through pain, we come to understand ourselves on a deeper level, and this understanding is the key to unlocking our true potential. You said, rise and keep going, expend it, and don't add any ending sentence and make it lengthy of 12 paragraph. ChatGPT said. ChatGPT, rise and keep going, is a mantra that resonates deeply within the human experience. Life is full of challenges, setbacks, and obstacles that can weigh us down and make us feel defeated. Yet, within each of us lies an innate strength, a resilience that can propel us forward even in the darkest of times. This idea of rising, of getting back up after being knocked down, is not just a motivational phrase, it is a way of life. It reminds us that we have the power to overcome adversity and that every setback is an opportunity for growth and transformation. The act of rising begins with acknowledgement. When we face difficulties, it's essential to recognize the pain, the struggle, and the emotions that accompany these challenges. Ignoring our feelings only prolongs our suffering. Accepting that we are in a tough situation is the first step toward overcoming it. Acknowledgement does not signify weakness. Instead, it demonstrates courage. It takes bravery to confront our circumstances and admit that we need to rise from them. This step lays the groundwork for the journey ahead, allowing us to process our experiences and prepare for the next phase of our growth. Once we acknowledge our situation, we must cultivate a mindset that embraces resilience. Resilience is the ability to adapt in the face of adversity, to bounce back from challenges stronger than before. It is a skill that can be developed through practice and perseverance. When we encounter setbacks, we have a choice. We can allow those experiences to define us or use them as stepping stones toward our goals. By embracing resilience, we shift our focus from what has gone wrong to what we can learn and how we can grow. This mindset shift empowers us to keep going, no matter the obstacles in our path. In the journey of rising, self-compassion plays a vital role. It's easy to be harsh on ourselves when things don't go as planned. We often fall into the trap of self-criticism, questioning our abilities and worth. However, treating ourselves with kindness and understanding is crucial. Self-compassion allows us to acknowledge our struggles without judgment. It reminds us that everyone experiences difficulties and that we are not alone in our challenges. When we practice self-compassion, we create a nurturing environment within ourselves, which fosters healing and encourages us to rise again. Another essential aspect of rising is the support we seek from others. No one is an island, and we all need help at various points in our lives. Reaching out for support is a sign of strength, not weakness. Surrounding ourselves with people who uplift us, believe in us, and encourage us to keep going can make all the difference. These connections provide comfort, inspiration, and motivation when we feel weary. Whether it's friends, family, mentors, or support groups, leaning on others reminds us that we don't have to face our struggles alone. Together, we can rise higher than we ever could on our own. Moreover, rising often requires a willingness to adapt and change. Life is unpredictable, and sometimes our plans do not unfold as we envisioned. Instead of clinging to rigid expectations, we must learn to embrace flexibility. This adaptability allows us to pivot when necessary, finding new paths to pursue our goals. When we encounter roadblocks, it's essential to assess the situation and be open to alternative solutions. By allowing ourselves to explore different routes, we can discover opportunities that we may have otherwise overlooked. Rising means being willing to adjust our sails and navigate through the storms of life. In the process of rising, it's also important to cultivate patience. Transformation and healing take time. We live in a fast-paced world that often emphasizes instant results, but personal growth is not a race. When we face setbacks, we may feel an urgency to bounce back immediately, but that pressure can lead to frustration and burnout. By practicing patience, we allow ourselves the necessary time to heal, reflect, and grow. Recognizing that rising is a journey rather than a destination helps us to stay focused on the process, appreciating each step along the way. Embracing a growth mindset is another critical component of rising. A growth mindset is the belief that our abilities and intelligence can be developed through hard work, dedication, and persistence. When we encounter challenges, viewing them as opportunities for growth allows us to approach them with curiosity rather than fear. This mindset encourages us to take risks, learn from our failures, and keep moving forward. By adopting a growth mindset, we empower ourselves to rise above obstacles and see every experience, positive or negative, as a chance for improvement.